Good morning, Canada. Welcome back to another episode of The Five Pines. So today, so many people are like, why do you not like the Liberals? Why do you specifically hate Trudeau so much? Like, that is such a often big talking point that people are like, why don't you blame the premiers? Why don't you do this? Well, first of all, it's more complex than that. Let's just say that. But yes, but I will just say this. When you look back in history and there are multiple premiers, but one remaining leader at the top, who do you think people are going to blame stuff on in the future? You guys think that you're part of the history where you're on the good side because you might have been convinced when you were younger, I'm trying to be nice, that conservatives are bad and liberals are good. And liberals care about people and conservatives don't. I just want you guys to understand that as somebody who is 32 this year, I'm a millennial. I was a young mom during Harper. The conservatives care about people, and they care about people, and they had programs in to help people like me who were single mothers. I've never had any help from child support or anything. I have completely relied on the government. I went to school during Harper because I got lots of loans federally and provincially. And to someone like me, when I look at the overall of my life, I was going through personally the roughest time of my life during the entire time of Harper. Okay, so I was kicked out. I'm pretty sure the year that he got in of my home. I was adopted that year, went through it, became a single mom at 19, which was all during the years of Harper. Not once did I look out of my surroundings and was I scared? Or did I think, hey, if I have this baby, I'm going to be poor, I'm going to be broke, there's no hope for me. I never once looked out into Canada and ever thought that during the Conservatives running. Maturing is realizing that Justin Trudeau convinced us that we weren't this progressive, like he came in 2015 or whenever it was, 2014, and convinced all of us that we weren't in this progressive country when we had been. It was the first time I had learned about residential schools during Harper because Harper apologized for it. Trudeau blames the rest of us for it. Anyways, I do think we were in a place where we could start really taking care of Indigenous people because a lot of us knew what was going on, and we were all in such a good place that we were able to focus on things like that. Now, I have watched Justin Trudeau promise sunny ways. Canada was sunny ways. If you look, it makes me emotional to think back to how much fun I made this TikTok, which was obviously taken down, and it was just showcasing like Canada before Trudeau and how much fun it was. Like, we had much music, and I know that it was the time, and I know that it's nostalgia a lot of the time, but you have to think about it because I used to go to places like Toronto with my field trip, like a school field trip, and we could walk down the road and maybe see as many homeless people as I can see right now in North Bay on 2 roads. Okay? Could things have been better? Yes. Not everything's perfect. Do I agree with everything that Harper did? Absolutely not. But when I look at the overall of everything, maturing is realizing that we have to have a good economy so that we can provide people with supports, because the idea was that like I no longer had to rely on that, right? Because I got my dream job. Now, let me just say this before I go on to the next Liberal policy that ruined my life. I can no longer work because I was forced to get something, and I will always bring it up, and I don't give a shit if you care, because someone might be watching for the first time and wonder why is she home? But yeah, let's move on. So first Liberal policy to impact my life was when Dalton McKenty impacted the agreeing on licenses with Ontario. It really did put back a lot of us getting our licenses who were ready to get it. And now if you look back on the year, you're gonna be like, that you weren't that age. Remember I told you I was adopted, so like everything got pushed back, and by the time I was ready to get my license, We couldn't because of Dalton McGuinty. Let's move on to Kathleen Wynne shutting down Siemens, Ontario. So not like, yeah, she got it there. She got it was a wind turbine factory, which I could tell you about if you wanted to know, but my husband worked there. And in 2015, I'm pretty sure that she closed it despite, I'm sorry, don't the Liberals want green energy made in Canada? Because tell me why we got this deal for green energy and then they shipped them across the world, these giant wind turbines. Tell me why that plant didn't stay here so we could make them for ourselves. If in the next 10 years they knew, because they did, how much they wanted to push the green initiative or whatever, why didn't they keep wind turbines? I'm just wondering. That doesn't make any sense. I'm not sure why you wouldn't want Canadian-made wind turbines if in the next 10 years you wanted to solely rely on them, but I digress. Let's move on. Kathleen Wynne and her deal with Hydro One and whatever the fuck they did, I'm pretty sure it might have been a carbon tax. I don't actually know, but one month, all of a sudden our hydro went from being like 400, which was expensive because we had baseboard heaters. So already we were paying out our ass for electricity. And 1 month it was $700. I'm pretty sure that was the year that Doug Ford ran and won because everybody remembered how horrible that year was for hydro. And then we have Kathleen Wynne and her implementing DEI, gender identity initiatives. And it's really not only just that, because Doug Ford scrapped it, but later kept it for later grades, which I want everybody to understand this right now. Having gender dysphoria is not something that is just like something we can cover in health class. It's a debilitating condition, okay? It's not like fun. It's not like a bunch of joy all the time. It is a lot of people really going through it. So I don't understand why it would be under our sex curriculum. I'm surprised Doug kept it. I'm sure he just caved and buckled to the woke mob, but why would schools have gone downhill. I do not understand how much sway Doug Ford has, or Stephen Lecce, whoever the fuck, in the Board of Education when it comes to Ontario, because I've worked in the schools and I know that unions have a huge say, because unions are the ones that push for PD days, and at the PD days they learn things like DEI initiatives. Like one time we were supposed to be preparing for COVID, and they spent 3 days telling us that we were all racist for BLM, because that's what happens. It's not like every teacher is going to implement these things. It's really, you learn these things on PD days. Now, they are baked into some of the curriculums, but it's on these PD days these people get this woke training and basically brainwashed into getting all of this training. It's really stuff that we don't need didn't need most of the time. Some of it was useful and some of it wasn't like woke, still based in reality, thank God, but a lot of it was bullshit. Like one of the times they were like, homeless people have it harder than you, so make sure you let them beat you because they come from, if you're getting assaulted, just let it happen. I'm not kidding. Things like that. And I worked with people who were very much not on board with that shit, so it was kind of refreshing, but not always. I will make a video about the schools in Western societies and what's going on, and how Trump is quite frankly probably going to save American children when he cancels the DEI stuff, because we need to go back to equality. We need to go back to not telling kids that they're literally white supremacists and making them go to a protest and calling them colonizers like we do in Canada. We have done that. That's what the Toronto School Board defends. So, anyways, I will say that Trudeau, as soon as Trudeau got in, house prices literally just went up by the hundreds every fucking year. It felt like, and I don't exactly know why, if that was his fault or anything. So I'm looking into that, but I will let you know that as soon as Trudeau got in, for some reason, the house prices went wild. Now let's go to 2020 and on. So I too suffered from Trump derangement syndrome in 2016, and then I lived my life from 2016 to 2020 and saw America doing great, saw no new war started, saw hilarious, like Trump is very entertaining. When he's with Kim Jong-un, that is probably my favorite clip. Him and Putin, the edits, I loved it all. Anyways, but I saw Trump, number one, not freeze bank accounts of people who are participating in BLM, burning cities to the ground. I went to BLM, okay? I went to BLM. I told you guys I was a leftist. But what I did see was Trudeau freezing bank accounts. So let's get into the policies and why I don't blame the premiers entirely. So to begin with, I'm pretty sure the lockdowns were like federal, and then the provinces were getting orders from Theresa Tam. Okay, so you guys might think that it was all on the premiers and the premiers had all this sway and discussion. Now, I will say there were some premiers that went down swinging, that did not want to shut down the provinces, but there are people like Jason Kenney and Rachel Notley who probably would love for us all to be locked in our homes for forever, while they participate in the things that they told us not to do and actually made law. So that's when things like the federal travel ban happened, and like they shut down the borders, which severely impacts our economy. And during the time, I can admit that I was wrong. I thought we should have locked down too. I thought that was the best idea. But what I do remember is Pierre Poilievre saying this might not be a good idea because our economy is going to be shut down and that will inevitably lead to more deaths, lead to more poverty, blah, 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 blah. And I thought, this guy's such an ass. He has no idea, blah, blah, blah. No, I had no idea. So shutting down the country indefinitely has severely impacted our lives, because the thing is that created the biggest gap in like the poor and the rich in history. It's so funny to me that the lefties are so unbelievably angry at Galen Weston all of a sudden when they were cheering on that he was the only person open in 2020 and 2021. So yes. So on top of the carbon tax, which is just, they keep doing it. People were like, the conservatives implemented it. Yeah, and as soon as they seen that it was impacting the economy the way that it is, I'm sure they wouldn't have quadrupled it. Like, you can't be serious. People can hear ideas, implement them, and them not be a good idea, and you learn from them, and you say no. You know, and then we have like the shutting down of cancer clinics, and like, I know that Theresa Tam like owned every public health, okay? I know that when you look back on history, yes, the premiers should be held accountable, and Danielle Smith has been the only one to say sorry, even though she wasn't in, and do the things that I think that are good, except for the fact that the Coots boys are in jail. I have no idea. Anyways, but I've seen her do the most, and I've seen Pierre Poilievre put bills through to make sure that we wouldn't be subjected to vaccine mandates. Now, if you don't believe me that Trudeau implemented this and set the precedent, then maybe you should go back and watch the clips where he says that he is doing everything he can to make sure that every Canadian, putting enforcement measures in to make sure that every Canadian gets this vaccine. So if I understand that the premiers should admit they were wrong and say sorry, but I'm pretty sure Doug did. Every time Doug got up there, he looked like he was being held at gunpoint. I'm not kidding. If you go back and watch those videos, like, it does not seem like it's Doug Ford, but I digress. Oh, my identity was stolen. Okay. Another situation, because we don't have like a federal fraud, like online, like, I'm sorry, it's 2024. And people's identities are being stolen left, right, and center. And we have absolutely no protections for, like, if you call them and, like, someone got into my Instagram, stole money from my followers, like, message them, I'm at the side of the road and I need help. Like, please send me money. Hundreds of dollars gone. Nothing they can do about it. I'm sorry, we live in Canada. Are you serious? And like, I don't even think 10 years ago it would have been a thing, but now it is, and now we need protection. And every time I've gone to go fill out the thing for the fraud, it says, oh, coming in 2023. Okay, well, it's almost 2025 and we still have nothing. So next, soft on crime policies. Okay, I've had thousands of dollars stolen from me. And that ties into unfettered immigration, because one of the people who stole $5,000 from me was an immigrant. And that's not, an immigrant also helped me birth my child, okay? Like, was my doctor when I was giving birth. So, I'm not judging all immigrants, okay? I'm talking about how unfettered and how we do not help Canadian citizens. Like, this person, like, I gave the police all of the information. I am a sleuth, okay? I'm a woman who grew up on the internet. I can find anything. I figured out who stole from me. I sent all the information. Nothing. This man is still in our country, still probably stealing from people the exact same way, because Scotiabank has such a high turnover rate and people who have such a bad language barrier that people like me will get fucked over completely. As in, like, every time I would call and tell them about the situation, they could barely speak English enough to understand what was happening. So then Canadians like me are out $5,000. I also had a friend I took birth photography for. I moved up north and I came down to take pictures for her. Asked beforehand, made sure that I was going to get paid, and none of that funny business. And I asked for my money. She blocked me, called the police on me. And would you believe that the police had time? Like, they can't go to domestic violence calls or help people who are being stolen from, but they have the time to call me and say, hey, don't hurt this person's feelings online. That's the Canada that we live in. And by the way, when I was forced to get injected, because I did have a public job, that's when my life started to go downhill. So I know this group loves to say correlation doesn't equal causation, but that's exactly why you've lost so many people on your side. Because there's so many women who suffer in silence because they're not like me and they don't talk about it, and they don't even want to admit to themselves because they're so brainwashed that they'll think, oh, if something happened to me, I don't want to be considered anti-vax, because the pro-choice crowd loves to go around and call people anti-vax. Isn't that rich? Isn't that rich? And by the way, we have a femicide happening in Canada. With femicide, we have people who put on wigs and go into DV shelters and assault women in Windsor, Ontario. You can look it up. And those aren't policies that have affected me, but they've affected other Canadians. So when you see these people on the side of the road that are angry, just know it's people like me that have almost lost everything. My grandma didn't get the care she needed. She died. I was forced to get vaccinated. I cannot work. As you guys heard in the beginning of the video, I worked very hard to get to where I am. And it was all ripped from me because of the Liberals. And they're psychotic, and the NDP are no better. The NDP are literally going to door to door. Door to door to door. To vaccinate people. So I digress. Yeah, please like and subscribe. I'm putting out videos every day now. Trying to build my TikTok back up, trying to build the YouTubes up. I'm gonna maybe ask another Canadian content creator to shout me out so I can get some followers on here, because it's hard for people to pay attention to this long of a video. But also, please listen to stories of Canadians like mine, because I know I'm not alone. And I know that a voice like mine could, and has helped people. People have reached out to me and been like, I never thought about it until now. My body hasn't been the same, and I couldn't wrap my brain about why I was feeling sick and stuff like that. So yeah, subscribe, and come back tomorrow, because I'll be here for a brand new video.